And then I turned and the door was open. And then before you know it, I saw the person that I wanted to rob the house girl.
Oh my God.
And then, of course, fight or flight kicked in and I ran towards him. I was like, Jesus, get down!
You ran towards him. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to another episode of the Goldby Show, where I'm your host with the most, Ele Goldby, and I'm super excited to have Funmto Ogunbanwo on here. Thank you so much for being here, Funmto.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
So, Funmto is a clinical mental health therapist as well as the founder of Ibi Ayo.
Come on.
Okay. So now you need to tell me, what does Ibi Ayo mean?
It means place of joy in Yoruba.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
What made you choose that?
So I was thinking through names when I decided I wanted to start my practice. I was thinking through names, and I knew that I wanted something to embody warmth, to embody that, you can feel comfortable here. And so I was playing around with the name Ayo.
Right.
And then my brother just helped me brainstorm, and he was like, how about Ibi Ayo? And I was
Ibi
like,
Ayo. You got it. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
I'm married to a Yoruba man.
Come on.
So
Babalola.
Babalola, hey. So I've been really, learning the language, and I know Ayo is joy. So I was like, Ibi.
Yes.
So that is absolutely amazing. So now, today we're going to be talking about triggers and trauma. And that is your specialty as a mental health therapist, right? So, and I would like to share a story. So there was this point in my life where I was dating someone, and looking back retrospectively, now I understand what was going on then. But in the moment, I did not understand. So what will happen is, whenever I was in his car, he would drive fast.
Really?
Very fast.
Yeah.
And there's so much traffic, or there used to be so much traffic, right?
Yeah.
And he was literally like, I don't even know the seconds, like a split second away from an accident each time. And I had so much fear in me.
Yeah.
So like he would speed and then halt the car. So it's almost like you get like this. And I was just like, oh my God. And it was happening over and over. And I would beg him each time.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this? And he wouldn't like really respond, or he would just like brush it off, or, doesn't want someone to cut him. But I never understood that.
Yeah.
Right? And then obviously that relationship did not work out. I didn't think much about it until I got married. And one time my husband was driving and I was sitting in passengers, and he sped and did the same thing.
Yeah.
Trouble.
Yeah, you flipped out, huh?
I flipped because it took me back to a place where I was.
Yeah.
And it just brought up so much fear in me. And then not until I started working with a therapist did I understand that was a trigger.
Yes, absolutely.
And it brought up like a distressing moment that I had experienced in my past, right? So I wanted to explore that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? First things first, I would say, have you experienced in your personal life, it doesn't have to be relationships, it could literally be anything. Yeah. Have you experienced any triggers?
Girl.
Tell us more.
People think that therapists were aliens and nothing happens to us. So this was a few months after moving back to Lagos. So the apartment that I was living in at the time, someone broke in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
were you living alone?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
But I was the only one in the apartment.
Oh my God.
At the time.
That must have been distressing.
No, it was.
Oof.
So I had settled down, gotten ready for bed and everything like that. And I was with my sisters, but they had traveled. So I knew that I was the only one at home.
Oh, wow.
And I got into bed, but I wasn't like completely asleep. Yeah. And I had just shut my eyes, and then the light came on. And I was just like, I know I'm the only one in this house.
What?
So what is going on?
What?
And then I turned, and the door was open. And then before you know it, I saw the person that I wanted to rob the house, girl.
Oh my God.
And then, of course, fight or flight kicked in, and I ran towards him, girl. I was like, Jesus, get down!
You ran towards him.
I did, but I wasn't thinking about it. Like, it was a trauma response, you know, because my body saw danger. I wanted to move.
Wow.
So after that happened, the next year later, we had moved houses and everything. And then my sister came into my room. The lights were off, and she turned on the lights, and I just jumped.
You responded the same way.
She was like,
wow.
I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry.
Did she know what was going on?
She knew why I had that response, because of course, even though she wasn't at home that night it happened, she obviously knew what happened you know, the next few days after. And so when I had that reaction, she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry.
Wow.
And I was like, it's okay. And then I had to tell my body, like, okay, it's
okay.
all right. We're calm.
Wow.
We're calm.
Wow.
And so, like, our body remembers when we experience, like, distressing events, right? And so it's like your body is quick to protect you.
Yes, our nervous system remembers every single thing.
Exactly.
Wow.
So when my sister turned on the light and, you know, it just reminded me of that, my body was like, okay, it's go time.
It's go time. Wow. Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. So I experienced relationship triggers based off of a trauma, a distressing situation that I had in my past.
Yeah.
And now Funmto here is telling us she has experienced the same.
Yeah.
From
a break-in,
literally, and her sister coming back in. So it's actually a thing we go through in life consistently in the different areas of our lives where, you know, we've gone through a distressing situation and something reminds us of it, and it brings back those emotions because our body stores all these things, our subconscious, our nervous system, all to protect us. You know, so now I want us to talk about how do we go about identifying the root causes? Because I feel like a lot of people operate from this part of their lives and don't even know, they're not even aware of what's going on the inside. So how do we, as a mental health therapist, how do we get to this point where we are able to identify the root causes or even identify that these are triggers or traumas?
Right.
Can we touch on that?
Yeah, definitely. So sometimes we may not be able to identify like the exact root cause, but we might be able to identify like contributing factors. Right. So using a personal example.
Okay.
I was thinking through how like, I can be conflict avoidant. Girl.
You went alone.
Whenever like there's conflict, my body tenses. Like I tense up. And then recently I was, because I mean, you know I'm a Christian.
Yes.
So I was talking to God, and then I remembered a memory of like my parents getting into an argument, right? And I was thinking through and I was like, okay, why is this distinctive to me? And it was because like I hadn't really seen them argue. And the one time I did, it was about me. Oh, wow. And so me being a teenager now, I now internalized it. I thought that it was my fault. And after that, you know, they, you know, started having some marital issues. Right. But the marital issues, now that I'm an adult, I know that the marital issues began before that. Right. But because I just witnessed that one, my mind now internalized it into like, conflict is going to equate to separation. Exactly. Or like problems, right? So that was a contributing factor for me, right? In that, like, I hadn't really seen healthy conflict around me. So
and there's nothing wrong in conflict.
Absolutely not.
As long as we can manage it, right?
Absolutely. Wow. Right. So sometimes we may not be able to get down to like the exact root cause, but we might be able to understand like contributing factors. And how we can start doing that is self-awareness.
Oh, so important. Yes.
Self-awareness and a lot of introspection. So being able to understand like, okay, why is it that I'm acting this way? And being able to be curious, because sometimes we notice like bad behavior in ourselves.
And we don't question it.
No, we don't.
And we don't question it.
Like criticizing ourselves, and it doesn't do anything.
Instead of beating yourself up, because like for example, going back to the scenario I gave with the car, you know, when it happened, I was like, why? Like, I didn't even ask myself. I feel like I'm a very self-aware person. But when that happened, it was almost like trying to fight. I was trying to fight in that moment. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you reminding me of somewhere I used to be, right? And he's like, no, babe, like, no, I normally don't speed.
Yeah.
So why did you do this one this time? And he explained, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not where I was.
Yeah.
It's a completely different scenario.
Exactly.
And then one thing he told me, he's like, babe, next time, because the relationship I was in before was very toxic. And I didn't even know. Sometimes we just move in relationships and we're not even, or we just move in life in general and we're not really sure if it's healthy, except you know what healthy looks like. You may not know, right? Until maybe much later when you start questioning things.
Yeah.
So that relationship was toxic.
I do.
And I didn't know then. And my husband was able to identify that this is what I was in.
Yeah.
So each time he would do something that mirrors where I was, because I was very defensive, he would tell me, babe, it's okay.
Yeah.
Say to yourself, Tomiwa loves me.
Shout out. Shout out to him.
He will literally tell me, like, repeat after me, babe. Tomiwa loves me.
Yeah.
Tomiwa cares for me.
Yeah.
I'm not in the same place I was before.
Oh, that's so good.
I'm in a wholesome environment.
Yeah.
I am safe with Tomiwa. He would literally say those things and say, repeat after me.
Please, can Tomiwa do a master class for
people? Tomiwa, can you do a master class for the men?
For the men, they need it.
For the men, can you do it? No, because really, he helped me understand. And really, he was the first person that introduced me to a therapist.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I had never been to therapy before.
Yeah.
But he introduced, aside, maybe going to see your pastors and, spiritual counsel and advice from your big mummies and aunties.
Big mommy.
Do you understand? Aside those things, he was the first person that got me into therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at first, there was that stigma of, I'm okay, nothing is wrong with me. Why should I pay this big money?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. But going back to what we were saying.
Yeah, definitely. So, with that example that you just gave, like, Tomiwa helped you identify a trigger. Yeah. Right? So triggers can be identified like by people that are close to us.
Yes.
Right? Because we have blind spots.
We have blind spots.
So people that are close to us and self-awareness, like I said.
Yes.
But then also just like noticing your body. Right?
How do you react?
Exactly. I mentioned that I noticed that with conflict, my body will feel tense.
Very tense.
Right? So it's like, okay, why am I feeling tense in this moment? If I look around me and there really isn't anything to warrant for that tension.
And I feel like this even ties back into self-awareness. Questioning, why does my body feel this certain way when this girl comes in the room?
Exactly. Why am I having this reaction?
Right.
Why does my mood change when this person comes in the room?
And the thing is, instead of just, telling yourself I'm not enough or using all these negative labels.
Exactly.
Start questioning, why am I happy when I see Funmto? Why am I not happy when I see someone else?
Exactly.
Questioning your reactions is so important.
No, exactly. Like curiosity really takes us a long way, right?
A very long way.
Unfortunately, we're not really taught to be curious.
Right.
It's like, something happens and we're quick to label it. Like, this is bad. Or even from like a spiritual perspective, it's like, it's the devil.
And we cancel.
Like, I rebuke and
I reject.
And it's just like, girl, how about you investigate? How about you just be curious? I'm not saying investigate darkness, but
how about you take a pause and just question it?
Right. And invite the Holy Spirit. Like, okay, Holy Spirit, what are you trying to show me through this situation? Yeah. Right? Before
That's so powerful.
What the Holy Spirit
Before you rebuke, like,
correct.
God has sent you something, like,
I cancel it.
You know the funny thing, when we have dreams, and there's something I've learned recently, when we have dreams, we're so quick to, if you get a car, you see a Range Rover in your dream. I claim it. 2024 is my year. Breakthrough. Do you understand? But when they give you food, you run.
You run, no. Exactly. You run. It's like, not this one.
Do you understand?
I cancel it.
But the funny thing, even going back somewhere in the Bible, who was fed in his dream? Who had like food? Was it not Cornelius? In the book of Acts.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
I think it was Peter.
Peter?
It was the vision. He said, I won't eat it because it's unclean.
Right. And what did God tell him? Like, no, like you can't. Who calls it unclean? Right.
Yeah.
Everywhere in the Bible, that food was presented. it wasn't like anything unclean. It was actually for their benefit.
It's just us.
Yeah, it's just us. You know, when it's food, we cancel it. You know, in Nigeria, the economy now. Somebody said they are no longer serving food in the dream.
I'm crying. Wow.
I had to go
Economy
there.
has reached the dream.
Economy has reached the dream.
Dreamland.
But anywho, you know, so going back to what we're saying now, I want us to touch on. So a lot of times right now, people are talking about the word trauma is being thrown around.
It's a buzzword.
It's a buzzword.
Unfortunately.
So like, is there a scale?
Yeah.
And I know people have different experiences, so we can't downplay someone's experience, right? And say, okay, no, this one is bigger. This one is small. Can you please expand on that a little bit?
Yes, definitely. And I want to start by defining what trauma is for us, right? So trauma is a response to an emotionally distressing event.
Yes.
And emotionally distressing is vague.
It's very vague.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's very person specific.
Yes.
What Ele might find as emotionally distressing, I may not find as emotionally distressing, and vice versa.
Right.
But I think that there are key things that we can agree on worldwide and generally that is emotionally distressing, right? So the loss of a loved one, that's emotionally distressing. Experiencing like a natural disaster, that's emotionally distressing. Witnessing like the separation of your parents, right? That's emotionally distressing. A break-in, like I spoke about, is emotionally distressing. Being in a toxic relationship is emotionally distressing, right? Yeah. So where we now can start to divide between like, okay, is this trauma or was this just a difficult moment?
Situation, right?
Is how long it lasts, right?
That's
and
good.
the reactions that come up after. We both are examples, right? We had reactions well after
the incident
happened, right? But if it's a difficult moment, right? You might have a reaction after, but I don't think you'll be having a reaction like 2-3 months later. Do you understand? So difficult moments can be Lagos traffic. Lagos traffic is hectic.
It is hectic.
Right? And we're all aware of it.
Yes.
Right? So that's a difficult moment, right? You might experience the frustrations in that moment. You might experience the displeasure and everything, right?
Right.
But hopefully, I mean, let's say that you experience traffic on Friday. Hopefully by Sunday, you're not still thinking about it.
You're not worried about it, right? Yes. Not everything should be termed trauma, right?
Yeah. Versus somebody in that same traffic that maybe had an accident.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yes.
That's good. By Sunday, they're probably still thinking about it because it was traumatic. It was an emotionally distressing event. So the things that we sometimes like label as trauma is that, you know, it was a difficult moment. Yeah. And, you know, see, I'm a trauma therapist. I'm not going to invalidate anybody's experiences. At all. Right? But I think there's wisdom in labeling things correctly. Yes. Right? Because we don't want to mislabel things so that we then end up downplaying people's experiences.
Right. And that should not be done. Right? Because that can cause even further trauma.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Because now it's like, oh, if somebody says like, oh, I've been through a traumatic event, like somebody might just be like, everybody and trauma, Joe. Trauma this, trauma that. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And like the weight and gravity of it is
and that forces that person, it may force that person into a deeper hole than they need to be. You know, so we also have to be very careful, understanding, and being kind, offering support as much as possible, right?
Yeah, and something that I want to add to that is that like you can experience something that is trauma, right? Like an emotionally distressing event. Yeah. But it may not leave a lasting impact on you because of how you process and work through it. Right. Right? So with both our examples, right? The example of the break-in, the example of you in the car, in your ex relationship, we both had support systems to help us work through it.
Support
you had
systems
therapy, you had Tomiwa.
Yes.
I had therapy, I had my family members.
So important.
Right? Yeah. So although those two things were traumatic incidents for us,
we're able to walk through them.
It, and it doesn't have a lasting impact on us. Right? So
having healthy support systems.
It's so
because there's some people that may not understand what you're going through. Absolutely. Explaining it to them and then you go into a further deep hole.
Yeah.
You know, so supportive is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's called a support system. So
For
it's supposed to be supportive.
Exactly.
You know? So what are some other ways besides like having like a close circle to help you through?
Yeah.
You know, what other ways?
Yeah. So therapy for sure. Therapy, I mean, I'll always advocate for therapy.
Yeah.
Not just
it's very important. I think it's very important, to be honest.
It is extremely important. So therapy, community, like we've touched on. And then also, like, if you have, I mean, I'm biased because I'm a Christian, but if you have some sort of like faith belief, right?
It's very important.
It's very important. Like, research even shows us that people that have like that believe in something higher than themselves, it plays a positive role when they're going through like difficult situations, right? Okay. So having something that you can believe in, that you can rely on,
and just knowing you're being dependent on a higher power, which is God.
Yeah, which is God.
And just knowing that, which is Jesus Christ.
So let's specify.
Not the universe. No, none of that. We don't believe in that.
No. We believe in the Creator.
We believe in the Creator, right? Who helps us? Who is our source, right? Super, super important.
Yes.
Is there anything else you would like to add to that?
I mean, there are tools and stuff, but honestly, people are really
good
people. Core
good
with,
people.
Like, processing through trauma. So whether that's like people from a professional standpoint, or from like a personal standpoint.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah.
So there's something I would like to mention from my book.
Okay.
I talk about triggers and traumas in this book, and from chapter 2, you know. Okay, so there are 3 scenarios. Which one would you like us to do? Take a wild pick between 1, 2, and 3.
Let's see. Let's do 2.
Let's do 2. All right. So trigger scenario 2 is Sarah receiving criticism on the job, right? She has worked long and hard on a project, and she receives negative feedback from her boss, and she immediately feels under attack. Her heart starts racing. She feels a lump in her throat, and she becomes very defensive. So now, can you, as a therapist, right? Can you tell us, what is this trigger rooted in? I can mention it. I can read it again if you want me to.
No, I think I got it.
Okay.
So this trigger is likely rooted in criticism that she's gotten from a person in a place of authority, right? And so it could be a caregiver, right? Wow. So maybe a parent or a teacher when she was younger was overly critical of her. And, you know, especially when we feel like powerless, it can be so hard. But then when you now grow older and you feel like, you know what, I can take care of myself.
I can take care of myself.
That's when the defensive comes in. Because it's like, you're not going to talk to me like that.
Right. And
I can protect
your
myself.
defense is rooted from a place of scarcity, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not healthy. It's not healthy to you or the person you're being defensive towards, right? You know, and something I did mention in my book is that it could be from childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of us have faced a lot of childhood traumas. You know, I actually did a poll on my Instagram page, and I said, which do you need urgent attention in? Childhood traumas or relationship traumas?
Yeah.
And or both. Well, both were a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
And I've seen that a lot of times the things we've not dealt with from our childhood goes with us as we become adults.
Absolutely.
Can you please share a little bit more on that?
Yes, because I think with childhood and family in particular, right? Family is our training ground for life.
Training ground.
That's how you learn how to be in relationships.
Yes.
That's how you learn how to deal with, I mean, I spoke about conflict, right? That's how you learn how to deal with conflict. Yeah. That's how you learn how to just navigate the world.
And if you're not from a healthy background, and I feel like sometimes our parents don't even know better.
Exactly. No. They really don't.
They really don't know. And it's not necessarily because, it's not because, they wanted to be wicked to you. Sometimes they just don't know and they only give you
and
what they do know.
Right. And they were responding how they knew how
to. They responded as best as they could.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, our parents literally teach us on how to take care of ourselves and how to parent ourselves.
Yes.
So that guideline that we received growing up is now becomes how we parent our own selves as adults, right? So if you can literally copy and paste that template, and it would go unnoticed if curiosity
is not there,
and self-awareness doesn't come in. Right? So it's like we repeat what we've been exposed to.
We repeat write that down.
Write it down.
We repeat what we've been exposed to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's very vital that we start exposing ourselves to right information.
Absolutely.
See, it doesn't matter your background.
No.
It doesn't matter where you've been. Like, even if you've had, like, for example, you've had toxic relationships like I did, that does not mean you must marry someone toxic. No. You can change the narrative of your life at any given time. Like, you're the author to your own story.
Absolutely.
And like a blank canvas, you can take your pen and rewrite the story, paint a new story.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I like to say with trauma is that, like, our bodies adapt.
They adapt.
Right? Our bodies adapt to unhealthy and healthy situations.
Yes.
So if you existed in an unhealthy situation, your body adapted to it.
Yes.
So that same body that adapted to unhealthy has the capacity
the potential
to healthy.
To readapt.
So
like,
you just
the same
have to,
way.
Exactly.
The same way you can rewire your mind.
Exactly. And you just have to affirm yourself, affirm your body. And I'm not even saying this in a woo-woo sentimental way. Just speak to your body.
Speak to yourself.
That my body has the capacity to adapt to healthy situations.
Ooh, that is so powerful. And you know the funny thing? This was what Tomiwa, which is my husband, was doing with me when I experienced that trigger with him.
Yeah.
He literally told me, repeat after me, I am safe. Tomiwa loves me. Tomiwa cares for me. This is a healthy zone.
This is a new space, it's a new relationship.
I had to say those things over and over and over till I started believing it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And at first, like, when you say it, it's like, this doesn't mean anything. And sometimes when you say these things to your body, when you say it to yourself, it's not magic. It's not magic that, like, instantly.
It takes time.
It takes time, but words are seeds, right?
They are seeds.
And so before you know it, it starts growing, it starts germinating. Because even with my clients, right, I might present an idea, like, you know, trying to challenge them, shake up that mindset a little bit. I said, no, Funmto, no, I'm not doing it. And then a few sessions later, I'm hearing like, oh yeah,
it worked.
I was thinking about it this way, like, somebody that, you know, may have been struggling with, like, perfectionism, for example. If I challenge it a little bit, you know, a few sessions later, I can hear like, yeah, I didn't finish it as well as I would have liked to do it, but it's done, Sha. And I'm just like,
and
this is you?
That's it.
From how many sessions ago?
So the thing is, we have to be consistent in these things. The same way, I mean, imagine from childhood to where you are right now. Let's say you're 26. If you've had a certain habit or a certain exposure for 26 years, it's not going to change in 10 months.
It's not. But,
it's not.
But guess what? If you
start.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say. If you stay consistent in that 10 months, you will see when you started at day 1 in month 1 is not where you'll be at day whatever in month 10.
So you have to find that place of encouraging yourself.
Absolutely.
That despite not having a certain background or reality, you can create a new one day at a time.
Right. Yeah.
That is so important.
It's so
vital.
important. And it's not like, again, this is not like some fluffy motivational speech, right? It's just like, and that's why you like the word capacity. Yeah. Because capacity means that, like, there's stretching, there's
room. Wow,
right?
that's powerful.
So I have the ability to make space for new.
Yes.
Last summer, I found myself, like, just like saying to myself, like, okay, I make space for new, I create new.
I love that.
And girl, when the new came, it was a little disorienting. It's like, girl, this is what you prayed for. This is what you prayed for.
So, preparing for what you pray for is another thing. Because when new comes, it's new.
Yes. So
it's new, and you have to adapt, right? Yes. Can we just take a moment to just say, I have the capacity.
Yes, I have the capacity.
I am expecting new things.
I make space for new.
I make space for new.
I embrace new.
I embrace new.
My body doesn't fight against new.
My body doesn't fight against new.
My body embraces the new.
My body embraces the new. This is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so powerful.
Yeah.
So in my book, I also mentioned some other triggers, be it from relationships or, social comparison.
Yeah.
Oof. Which is a big one. You're scrolling on Instagram and you see someone's perfect life.
Curated
perfect life. They're 1%.
Yeah.
Forgetting they have a 99 behind.
It's so tricky.
You forget all of that and you start comparing the 100% of your life to someone's curated lifestyle.
Yeah. And, see, going back to self-awareness.
So important.
You have to be aware of like, okay, why is it that when I'm scrolling through Instagram, my mood changes?
Why is your mood changing per post?
Do you actually get
per post?
Just like, see this one, you should the only one.
You should the only
because
one
we
have access to so many people's lives. So much information. Front row seats to people's lives. You think you actually know them.
No, you don't.
You know their process. You know their journey.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
You really don't.
Yeah. So this is where you have to be aware.
You have to be very self-aware.
Yes.
And that's one thing I talk about in the book.
That's good.
Being able to question every single thought, question every single reaction, question everything. This is what makes you more self-aware. Do you understand?
Absolutely. Yeah. And not questioning it from like a place of like negativity.
No.
Right? And I know that's
questioning
not what you're saying,
it to grow.
Exactly. Right? Like just honestly, curiosity is the word.
Curiosity.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I know we have the saying that curiosity kills the cat. But please, this cat is alive.
This cat is alive.
This cat is alive and healthy. So let's be curious. Let's
be very, very curious.
Yeah.
Very question everything from a healthy standpoint. And the other thing I would say is keep a journal.
I love
keep you a journal. If you like your paper, your book, you like your physical journal and your pen, girly, by all means. That's me too. I'm trying to switch into the digital mode. Still learning. I'm working on it one day at a time, right? Yeah. So important. It will track your progress.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is sometimes when we get into this mode of, okay, I want to level up, I want to be better, I want to ditch, identify those triggers, work on these traumas. How do you deal with that feeling of overwhelm? Or how do you deal with that? Sometimes we learn helplessness. Like, I just don't want to do it.
Yes.
Like, I remember when Tomiwa started talking to me, like, okay, repeat after me. At some point, it just got difficult.
Yes, and it is difficult.
I'm like, can't I just move past this?
Yes, it is difficult. And that's a part of the journey, right? Because like you said, if somebody's 26 years, the habits that they've developed over those 26 years, they're not going to go away.
It didn't come in one day. It won't leave in one day.
And because like they're so uncomfortable, we feel like, oh my God, get this thing off me. Like, I just want to shake it off, right? And this is where you have to be patient with yourself. You have to take it.
You have to give yourself grace.
Yes, and you can take a break if you need to. I've had people, like clients, like say, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from therapy, right? Because it might feel overwhelming.
It may feel overwhelming,
and that's completely fine, right? But you have to take it one day at a time. And this is where professional help comes in. Because with me as a therapist, if somebody comes to me with like a presenting concern, right? And it's like, okay, I want to deal with this, I want to deal with that, I want to deal with that. I'm looking at like, what is the major contributing factor? Right. So that when we knock this out, it's like a domino effect, right? Yeah. And that's what a professional will do for you, right? That's why professional support is helpful.
So important.
Because if we're looking at trauma, for example, right? Trauma is a big thing. And so I know that, okay, trauma has affected self-esteem, it's affected core beliefs, it's affected things like that.
Your value systems.
So, exactly. So if I'm looking at, okay, you know what, the thing that I want to, I don't want to say attack, but the thing that I want us to go at is trauma as a whole. But we're going to start with like teaching them self-awareness, teaching them to understand when their emotions are rising, teaching them how to regulate their emotions, right? When their body is calm and able to regulate, then we can start working on like the self-esteem stuff. And so do you kind of see how it's
starting
like
from the foundational issues,
Exactly.
And I do the same as a life coach as well. And I've also realized that during sessions, sometimes they may feel so overwhelming for the clients where they just need a break. And this is why it's important to invest. It's not a one-time seeing a therapist thing.
It's not one of the most common questions I guess is
how many sessions? How many sessions
Girl,
do I need?
I don't know.
It depends on the depth. It depends on the depth, right? So because as a life coach, people come to me and, sometimes when people come to you, they're thinking of the monetary aspects, right?
Yes.
Like,
and that's valid.
That's very valid,
right.
Especially in this part of the world where
exactly.
it's not as common, right? And sometimes, aside, speaking to your family, your friends, and trying to figure it out on your own, you do need that professional help.
Absolutely.
A guide gets you to where you need to get to faster.
Exactly.
They've been there. They've gone on that road, right? So it's very, very important. So I love what you said. So now, as we round out, I want to ask you,
okay,
if you could speak to your younger self.
Ooh, you want to go there?
If you would speak to younger Funmto, and this could be for anybody. This could literally be for anybody watching and listening to this.
Yeah.
What would you say to her?
Younger Funmto. So whenever I think about my younger self, there are certain images that come to mind. I think of myself. There's a picture of me at my 3rd birthday party, and I have like Fanta in front of me. Fanta used to be one of my favorite. Do you understand? It used to be one of my favorite drinks.
Yeah.
And then I think about myself in secondary school, because that's where a lot of havoc was wreaked.
Oof.
Right? So I would start with the younger 3-year-old self, like, girl, just keep having fun. Just keep enjoying.
You're a baby.
Yes.
You're a toddler.
Yes. Enjoy yourself. And then secondary school Funmto, I would tell her, you are beautiful.
Oh, yes.
You are so intelligent.
You're not.
Like, so intelligent. Like, beyond what... beyond the academics that are presented in front of you, you are so intelligent. You have a wealth of knowledge that you're yet to untap, and you are more than enough because God loves you.
Yes.
And you are his beloved. You're precious in his sight. So I would tell myself that, because my intelligence and my appearance are two things that, I really struggled with when I was in secondary school. And, I put up a post on like my close friend story, and I was saying like, I can't believe that once upon a time I used to think that I wasn't beautiful, right?
Wow.
And I wasn't even trying to be cocky, because like I used to think that, and girl, now I'm just like,
such a chocolate beauty. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's powerful. And I love how you broke it down into speaking to the 3-year-old you, the secondary school you.
Yeah.
And then whatever else. And I just want to say to that young woman, which is me speaking to Ele at 24, that you are enough. You're beautiful enough. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with you. And there's no generational curse following you because you are now in Christ. And everything you've ever needed and will ever need for your life is already in you. That as a believer, God has given you everything you need in Christ. Yeah. So Ele 24, I'm speaking to you, and I'm looking at myself now at 30, grateful that I somehow, between the 6 years from then and now, I found out this truth, And for you listening to me out there, speak to the different ages that you remember, the places where you had significant growth in your life or significant changes. Go back and speak to that young woman. You have the power in you to talk to her, and it heals that inner child, right? Because she's still in there.
She is.
She's still in there.
And she needs love.
And she needs the love, because that would help you for the next stage of your life and even your present reality. Oh, Funmto, this has been so
good.
Beautiful, so good.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on the
Gold
Be Show. So thank you all so much for tuning into the Gold Be Show this week. Make sure you leave a comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this message with someone else, right? And make sure you take those practical tips, those examples that we have given, apply it to your own life, and really watch that gold come out from within you. It's already there. If you want to purchase the book, You Are Gold, you can go on my website at elegoldb.com. It's on the screen, and it's ELE Gold, GOLD, B.com. And you can go on any of my social media platforms at elegoldb to purchase You Are Gold. All right, so you can find out more about Funmto if you want to work on your mental health or any of those issues.
Yes.
Please, where can we find you?
Yes, so you can find me on our website, ibiayo.com. That's ibiayo.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, ibiayo, that's at IBII.AYO. And you can follow my personal Instagram at Funmto, FUNMTO, if you want to find me. So I'm somewhere on the internet. You can find me.
Yes, you can always find us. I promise you, once you Google, you will find every information that you need. Make sure you go to the right links though.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Yes.